Okay, so I was talking about this idea of credibility, and there's three different parts to it. There's honesty, competency, and caring. I'm going to go over the honesty segment now. Now, I would like to think that people are just going to be naturally honest. I mean, that should be a given. I mean, if you're a doctor, you're out there serving the public good, it would make sense that you're an honest individual. However, the world is what it is, and there are some people, some dentists in particular, but there's just people in general, who aren't honest. Okay, and those people have got some serious problems they need to deal with. But if you're honest, that's great. There's things that you need to build off from that. It's things that that really it's going to come down to you. You are number one as far as knowing that you're honest. Others can sense if you're honest based upon if what you're doing is right. There's so many different things you could do to kind of prove your honesty, especially to your staff, and you can to your patients. Let me give you an example. Imagine a patient has come in and you do an exam. And during this exam, you determine that a lower molar needs a crown. Okay? You've put together the treatment plan. You've explained why it needs to have, why it needs a crown. The patient schedules not the same day. They come back later. So on the appointment book, you have about an hour and a half on your appointment book. The finances have gone over, your insurance estimations have been done by the front desk. The patient knows how much their portion is going to be. You know about how much insurance is going to pay. You know what the total production amount is going to be for that hour and a half appointment or so. Patient comes in, you get them numb, you go remove the old filling, you remove the decay, and you look inside the tooth and you know what, the decay wasn't as deep as it normally goes. And there's also not a crack running along the floor of the tooth. All the cusps are fine, there's a lot of tooth volume, and and your assistant sitting across the chair from you also knows that just a filling will work. It will work for many, many years. Yeah, this tooth might need a crown later, but for right now, a filling will get the job done. Now, you're looking at that moment and you're thinking, well, what should I do? Should I go ahead and just do the crown now, kind of like what the patient was expecting and what was already appointed on the schedule for today, or should I just do the more conservative thing, knowing full well that you're going to have less production, you're going to have, that appointment's going to be shorter, which means you're going to have some unused time. What are you going to do? Are you going to do the right thing and do just the filling, or are you going to barrel ahead and just do the crown? Your patient probably won't know the difference, unless, of course, you submit an X-ray and a photograph the insurance company might be requesting, and they determine that no, this tooth actually just needed a filling, and the patient gets a letter from the insurance company and they say, yeah, we're not going to pay for a crown. This tooth looks like just a filling would work. And now you have to explain to this patient why you chose to do a crown instead of a filling. And now, since insurance isn't going to pay, now your office, you're charging the front desk with this task of going up or calling this person or sending them a letter saying, oh yeah, it looks like your insurance didn't pay as much as we estimated. You're going to have to pay us another few $100s. How happy is that patient going to be? Not too happy. What about the staff person sitting across? Okay, they look inside, they see what's going on, and they know that you could have placed a filling. You think they're going to want to back you up when you're having to do treatment plan presentations to patients later? You want to try to delegate some of this to the staff. You want your staff to kind of second what you're saying. You want them to kind of reinforce what you're talking about. And they see you doing these kind of questionable things. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to be very uncomfortable doing that. Let's just take another example. Someone comes in, again, you treatment plan a surgical extraction. And you get in there and you just take the tooth out. It's fairly straightforward. It's normal. It does not meet the definition of a surgical extraction. Okay, you didn't have to lay flap, you didn't have to cut bone, the tooth just came out. Just recently, I heard from an assistant who her doctor she works for actually took out a tooth and was treatment plan as a surgical. We do the same thing in our office. We treatment plan surgical. If it turns out to be a surgical, we keep it as is. If it's just a normal extraction, well, we downgrade it to a normal extraction. And yes, it's a lesser fee, but that's what it was. So we're going to be honest about it. But going back to this assistant, she was saying that her doctor took out this tooth, and then that was it, and went ahead and charged out for a surgical extraction. She actually confronted this dentist and said, well, here's the code book. Let me show you right here. It says that if it's a normal extraction, it's this. If it's a surgical extraction, it's that. If it's a surgical, you didn't lay a flap, you didn't cut bone. So could you explain to me why it's a surgical extraction? And he said that, when I took the tooth out, I took a curette and I kind of scraped the inside lining of the socket to kind of clean up some of the PDL or some of the granulation tissue. So that makes it surgical. We all know that is not part of the definition of a surgical extraction. He just wanted the money. I've also heard from other staff members who've worked in other offices where insurance estimation was that insurance was going to pay a little, but the patient was going to pay the other part. Well, when they get the insurance check back, the insurance check was more than they thought. So they actually had extra money left over, and they kept the money. They didn't refund it back to the patient. They didn't put it on their file. They just said, oh, that's my money. And so they just kind of keep it. Now, of course, if it's a shortfall, they're going to send statements to the patients. But if the insurance paid more than they thought, they don't refund back the patient. They kept the money for themselves. It's these kinds of things. Your front desk staff can see if you're honest or not. They can see what, also your bookkeeper can see what you're running through the business and what you're not. Your assistants, they can see what's going on. Your hygienist, if you're in there doing these treatment plans that are really kind of outside the norm of what it is, they know what's going on. So, the thing is, you're also going to run into situations where you may have to submit documentation to a state board, probably an insurance company lots of times, maybe another dentist. And, if your documentation doesn't really support your treatment that was delivered, people are going to pick up on that, and your reputation is going to go down. And so you do all these different things, or I shouldn't say you, people, that are dishonest, do these things, and what's it for? Just for some more money? Is that all it really, really, your integrity, your self-worth, you're going to trade that in for a few $100s for a procedure. And be careful, when you do it on one procedure, you're going to do it on the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It's just like somebody who embezzles. They just take a little bit thinking it's just this one time, but then they get away with it. And then they take out some more, and they do it again and again until these numbers get to be huge. And they don't even know who they're looking at in the mirror anymore. They're always looking over their shoulder because they know they're acting dishonest. And so when you want to be credible, you have to not be dishonest. You have to be honest. And so what would pressure somebody to be dishonest? I've went over several examples of like the whole money thing, coming down to greed. Some people are just greedy. That's just who they are. They're pathological, if you ask me, but the thing is what could maybe pressure somebody, or what could make someone cross that line? It could be that. It could be pressure. Maybe things at the office aren't performing as well as they should, and so they feel like, I need to just grab a couple extra bucks right now. They bend the rules just so they can grab a few extra dollars now. Just they won't do it later when things are better. They're gonna do it now because things are a little bit tight. So they're under financial pressure. So there's ways of staying out from underneath financial pressure. It's a whole separate post I have on called the freedom gap. Look for that one. It's a very important one about just how to run things financially. But what else could it be? Retribution. There are some dentists who want to get back at their patients. Maybe their patients are a real jerk, or maybe they said, I only want to do what my insurance is going to pay for, nothing else, doc. And so the dentist is like, well, fine, then I'm just gonna treatment plan you and treat you this way because they feel somehow slighted. They feel like, as a dentist, that they aren't being respected for their opinions or whatnot. So they want to get back at this patient, and so they overtreat. They do things that are dishonest. Or it could be that someone's an easy target. Again, I had a staff person years ago who used to work for another office down the street, and this dentist, when putting together a treatment plan, would then start to put together fees. He wasn't on any PPO plan, so he wasn't locked into any kind of fee schedule. He had his own fee. He would actually look through the blinds, look out into the parking lot, and see what kind of patient or what kind of car that patient drove. And that's how he set his fee. This is craziness. When what he was doing, he was looking for an easy target. Somebody who seems like they could afford it. He would jack up the fees. There was another one where, or I could say, not just another one, but another situation. Maybe they're not so much you think they have money, but this patient really trusts you, really likes you, really thinks that you're the person that can deliver, the treatment that they need. And so they put a lot of faith and trust in you. And so some dentists will look at that. I'm sorry, I keep saying you know what I mean? It's people in general, or other people out there that could, that I'm speaking about. Anyhow, it could be someone's an easy target. They put too much trust in this individual, in this dentist, and so the dentist thinks, hey, they trust me, I can grab a little bit more from them. So it's all of this other stuff that when you add it all up, the summation of being dishonest can cause so many problems. And again, what was it all for? A few extra dollars. You traded your integrity in for just a few extra dollars. It simply isn't worth it. You play straight up and you do things the right way, it's just going to come back in ways that you can't even imagine. So again, this was kind of a long post, but this was on honesty, but it plays into the three elements that makes up credibility. Again, honesty, competency, and caring. Those all three come together to make up the competency formula. So let's move on to the competency section next. All right, thanks.